My name is Tremayne Johnson. Everybody calls me, for the most part, everybody calls me Treezy, and I'm a producer for Visually Inclined. You know, I was shoot, where do I start? I mean, okay, I grew up. I was a latchkey kid. You know what I mean? I had a single parent, single mother raising two boys. And after school, you know, I come home and no parental supervision, you know what I mean? But since I had a younger brother, I was very conscious about my actions as an older brother, you know what I mean? And I was probably a little introverted growing up, probably more introverted than the average kid. And I spent a lot of time watching movies and things of that nature. And that's just, you know, I've always been in the cinema, and I never realized that it could be a profession coming where I come from, which is Hampton, Virginia, until, you know, like my second year of college. And once I saw the opportunity, I just jumped on it and pursued it. So just my love of movies, man. Everybody around me's always loved movies. You know, my cousins, aunts, you know, it's just always around me, man. So, I chose the rocky road, which is learning on your own. And learning on your own means you learn on your own with your pocketbook too. You feel me? Or your wallet if you're, you know, male. But you know what I'm trying to say. But I got started my second year of college, man. I ran into a friend who was actually, his name Jamal Johnson, man. He was doing some recording for his television show. He had a television show that came on cable television, and it was like a hip hop related TV show. I saw him at a gas station one day, and he was like, "Yo, man, do a drop for me. Do a drop for my show." And I'm like, "What's a drop?" Okay. He explained to me what a drop was. I did it for him. And at the time we were shooting, you know, at that time, this was 2002, 2003. So they were shooting, Canon had these XLR, Canon XL1. It was like the shoulder rig cam, but it was like one of the first prosumer digital cameras that shot on mini DV. So just the fact, the rig, the way that he was an independent, you know, working for himself, holding this big camera it was real sexy, like you know, white, silver, red, and black, you know. So it just caught my attention from a creative standpoint. And after I did the drop for him, man, I just took the liberty to have a conversation with him, and he told me what he did, shooting music videos. And I just told him, man, I was like, "Yo, bro, I just want to like help you on set, whatever the case may be." Cool, man. He knew me from high school, you know what I'm saying? He was like, "Hey, cool." That's the type of dude he is. And the type of person I am, man, when I find something I want to do, I jump in. I jumped in, man. I jumped in. Full service, bro. Jumped in. And this has been like no looking back ever since. And I think the next milestone was in 2007 when I got the opportunity to work full time for Elusive Media, which was actually like a premier, it was the top product for me, man, the top, you know, urban entertainment sector in Virginia, especially at that time. You know, I go as far as they're pioneers, but the owners of Elusive, I knew them from college as well. We kind of all came in it together. I had my own production company. They had their own production company, but theirs took off way better, way more. So they were gracious enough, you know, Curtis Bowens, you know, Show Me, and Philip. They were gracious enough to like bring me in and hire me full time to like be the general manager of Elusive Media. So that's what got me on the path that I am now. Visually Inclined is exactly what it is, man. It is a home for anybody who is about pushing the culture, the visual media culture forward, man. And the short version of Visually Inclined is Viz Ink. Visually Inclined, Viz Ink, you know, shameless plug. But and it, you know, we're just a collective. We're just a collective of creatives really trying to find our way in southeastern Virginia and abroad, but specifically in southeastern Virginia, a terrain that the entertainment industry is, you know, is still in its infancy. So, oh man, when we started, I actually started the company in 2009 with 2008 actually with Corey Smith, and we were using Panasonic HVX AG, was it 100? Panasonic AG is either 200s, an HVX, basically, Panasonic HVX. I'm not the most technical, right? But I think from a versatility standpoint, you know, you gotta respect what Canon's doing. You know, I think they make like a body style for any style photographer, videographer you are. You know, I hear a lot of great things about the 60D. Never used it, but I've seen a lot of great imagery come out of that. Yeah, I think it's less about the camera that you use and more about your intent and your eye, and you know, whatever your style is, just make sure it permeates to, you know, to the canvas that you're painting on properly. So it's less about the camera, more about the eye. For versatility, Canon makes great products. Top 3 movies, man. Number 1, Godfather. As of all time, Godfather is my absolute favorite. I didn't see that until I was in college, but that was like early 2000s. The movie I probably watched the most as a kid, it is a toss-up between Last Dragon and Big Trouble in Little China. Okay, yeah, it's you know, depending on where you were geographically, you'll respond to either one of those. But Last Dragon and Big Trouble in Little China were probably the ones that I watched the most. And then just to dive back into favorites, man, it's hard to say. I've seen so many great movies, man. Seen so many great movies, but that's a tough one. That really is a tough one, man. I just know Godfather's number 1. And then I would go probably Memento. Memento, yeah, man. Christopher Nolan, his first American film. It's hard to say, man. You know, it's not just like single memories that really do it for me. You know, it's the you know, the journeys. I mean, I think picking up and moving to New York is going to be it's a memory that sticks out because it was a hell of a risk. You know, it's a hell of a risk. You know what? Let me take that back, man. I think my best memory is probably shooting Four Loko. When we produced the Four Loko music video for Smoke DZA and A$AP Rocky. And the reason why it's the most notable for me, you know, we have a great relationship with Smoke DZA, man, and he was the first one to embrace Corey and I when we moved to New York. And he's kind of the reason that we're on this path of like people even knowing about us, even caring. The reason why we're even having this conversation, you know, is the foundation of it comes from the opportunities that Smoke DZA, Johnny Shipes, and Cinematic Music Group gave us. Okay, but Four Loko is the song. It's probably Smoke DZA's biggest song, and arguably, and it was the first time that I ever met A$AP Rocky. And the reason why it's a very important moment is because the day that we shot Four Loko was literally the day before he dropped Peso. And if anybody's familiar with A$AP Rocky and Peso, then you know that like Peso is the one that took him out of here. You know, he had that purple swag that was really hitting, but Peso took him. I'm talking about literally the next day. No way you can contact him. You know what I'm saying? Like it was overnight, but it wasn't overnight for his journey. But I don't want to talk you to death, man. But the reason why that was so memorable, man, is because we had written out a treatment to where it was mostly a studio video, and we were shooting it in Brooklyn, this place called The Factory in Brooklyn. It was a white wall video. Well, I don't want to air him out, but Smokey and Rocky turned up kind of late to the video set, you know what I'm saying? And we were paying about an hour for the facility, so on the budget, we only had a certain amount of time. So I had to shift gears in what to do for a second day, right? And I started explaining to like Smokey what I wanted to do for a second day, explaining to Rocky what I wanted to do for a second day. And some imagery. I was like, yo, we hit the city. We kind of like, you know, get that hardcore imagery in Harlem. We had shot a video called Divine Music with Smoke DZA that it was already like paid homage to Harlem. We hit Harlem, but it was kind of like version 2 of this, getting a little bit more into the streets. And the imagery that I was explaining to him, Rocky was like, shit, nigga, that sound like the video we just wrapped up. And I was like, where? He was like, yeah. He pulled out his phone, pulled up, you know, a little video, a little link or whatever. and we're sitting here, and me and him are watching Peso together. And I'm talking about for the whole 3 minutes and like 20 seconds. I'm just sitting there looking at. I was mesmerized by the sound of it, by the video. We were just watching it. It got done. I was just like, yo, Rocky, man, you gonna win with that one. He was like, yo, you think so? I was like, yo, fam, you gonna win with that one. He was like, word. He was like, I might put that shit out tonight. I was like, yo, you gonna win with it. I ain't know what else to say. You gonna win with it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the reason he put it out that day, but it was just like memory-wise, I'd never been in front of, to see where he is now and to have that particular moment and, in all of its like humblest, foundation, man, it was just a great moment, man. And it's something I'll never forget. The biggest challenge, man, is balancing what we want to do as a creative entity and then what we have to do to keep the lights on, and distinguishing between the two. Sometimes you get in these modes where you're paying bills, and you're doing things to pay the bills. And the more that you do to pay the bills, it's taking you away from what you got into it for. So that's the biggest balance, is life and art. Realistically, man, have a plan. I know it sounds cliche. I know every adult says it. That's like the first piece of advice everybody gives you. Have a plan, though, like a realistic plan of what you want to do and what you want to be in this game. Because I think with the access to technology, man, and very rarely people, on an independent level, man, a lot of people just pick up a camera and go. Not a lot of people go to school for it. I mean, there's plenty of people that go to school for it, but I mean a lot of people that don't, is what I'm trying to say. And for the people that don't go to school for it, understand what roles go onto a set. Because I think everybody naturally inclines to like wanting to be a director. But, a director is just a piece of a chessboard. You know what I'm saying? There's roles outside of that, outside of being a director, that are just as important to making an image or story, to its fullest capacity. Get familiar with those, because everybody's not fit to be a director. And just because you pick up a camera and shoot something doesn't mean you're a director. It just means you pick up a camera and shoot something, So understand what these roles are and understand where you fit into the paradigm, and know when when you're not the most creative person in the room. It's important. I think everybody takes pride in wanting to see their vision and see their concepts come to life, but it's important to know when you're not the most creative person in the room. For myself, I want to be full-fledged I want to have multiple projects that I'm producing. That's what I want to do. I want to produce and finance feature films when I grow up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I got into this for. So within 5 years, I see me on the path to that, at least having, 2 to 3 films under my belt that I've either, greenlit through fundraising or have put up the funds for myself to make happen in relationship with distribution. And Viz Ink in 5 years, man, what I would really like to be and what I would really like to see for Viz Ink in 5 years is being that bridge between the independents, being like a Weinstein company or a Miramax, if you're familiar with them, the guys that embrace the independent filmmakers, but then they have the relationships with the distributors, so it's, you're basically the bridge between the couch and the Bugatti. You know what I'm saying? You're that bridge between it. Man, to be honest, I don't put much thought into that. I really don't. But what I would hope is that I've inspired enough people to inspire more people. I don't ever want anybody. I hope my legacy was selflessness, and selflessness and motivation. I want to inspire people to feed their lineage, and so that's probably like the corniest answer of all time, but it's real.